Hi everybody, how are we all doing? I hope we're having a good weekend so far. So today is Sunday the 6th of April 2014 and we are here with a new Arrow character spotlight, and I'm talking about none other than Isabel Rochev, played by Summer Glau. She's been introduced into season 2 as well, the new CEO of Queen Consolidated. Obviously, if we remember what happened at the beginning of the season 2 after the season 1 finale with the earthquake device, and obviously Queen Consolidated started to, plummet as a business. Isabel was brought in as such to, how should I put it, kind of get the company back on track. And it was first mentioned that she actually acquired another company previously known as Stelmore International, and she is now fighting her way up the ranks as quickly as possible. I say up the ranks as quickly as possible, but she's like been drafted in to take over Queen Consolidated from Oliver Queen, seen as Moira Queen's now not CEO as well. But what do we know about the character? Well, there's not a lot that we know. What I will say is that she was briefly mentioned in the pilot. Her name was on the list. Okay, she was on the list of in Rob Queen's book that Oliver had, and this obviously gives a suggestion that something happened between Robert and Isabel, years ago. I'm sure we'll probably get some sort of flashback or something. But what is also interesting is that later on in season 2, when Moira is aware that Isabel is here, she's telling and warning Oliver not to trust her. She is dangerous and this, that and the other, and she does it again in another episode. I think it was The Scientist, which first introduced Barry Allen, that she's warning Oliver from Isabel to say, look, stay away from her, she's dangerous. And we then find, and spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Deathstroke this week, we then find that Isabel is actually working for Slade Wilson. She even remarks a certain comment towards Oliver, the sins of the father are the sins of the son. And that again gives us an idea that there's some sort of grudge between Isabel and Robert, but because Robert's not alive, she's now taking it out on Oliver. The other interesting thing is that obviously Isabel, she's Russian, she's from Russia, and she got brought to the United States and brought up in the States. As I say, not much is known really about her past life, or we find out about her, Russian heritage from the episode, was it Keep Your Enemies Closer, when Oliver, Felicity and Diggle all went to Russia because of Deadshot, basically, and Isabel went with them thinking it was a business trip, but it wasn't really a business trip. And obviously Oliver and Isabel slept together. Felicity wasn't happy about that, so what happens in Russia stays in Russia, although it didn't. But in the comics, and this is what I love about the show, is that they are using Isabel's, how she's adapted in the comics. They're adapting it pretty well on the show. As I say, she's from Russia, and even in the comics, it was the storyline goes that she was like a slave girl. Well, I say she was working in a mine at the time in Siberia. Robert Queen visited where she was working, and she looked up to him. He inspired her in a sense. She fell in love with him, but he didn't feel anything like that towards her, but she felt that she was really a part of him as such. And later on, when she eventually gets out of the mining business and becomes her own person, she starts owning a number of businesses, starts acquiring shares in Queen Industries. This is in the comics, by the way. Starts acquiring shares in Queen Industries, to which point she now becomes the CEO of the company after Robert Queen has died. And if you've read Cry for Justice, Prometheus was responsible for decimating, most of Star City, as it is in the comics. And that's when Isabel enters the foray and is now you know, taken over Star City and Queen Industries as well. She decides that it's her job to bring the company back up, but she wants to get rid of Oliver at the same time. You know, she doesn't want Oliver to be involved. You know, she knows that Robert Queen is now dead. So she's ruthless. She is ruthless. She's very, very evil. And again, as I say, it shows on the show as well. But which also brings us to the next part of this video. I've already mentioned it in my review as well. So again, here are more spoilers. There's a possibility that Isabel Rochev might not actually be Isabel Rochev. And I say this because two things. One, she's working with Slade Wilson. She could well be young enough to be Slade Wilson's daughter. Second, there was a picture shown earlier this week, well, shortly after Deathstroke was aired, of Summer Glau dressed up as Ravager. Okay, Ravager is the code name that Rose Wilson goes by. Rose Wilson is Slade Wilson's daughter, and she looks up to her father. She is trained by her father and becomes, you know, Ravager. She even at one point actually takes on the role of Deathstroke at some point, I believe. And it's possible that Isabel could in fact be Rose Wilson. Whether or not we'll find out before the end of the season, I'm sure it could happen. Excuse me. And what I think is going on here, just think of Batman Begins, okay, when Liam Neeson's character Henry Ducard was introduced to the film, but then later on he turns out to be the real Ra's al Ghul. Henry Ducard is actually a comic book character. There is a comic book character called Henry Ducard, and he knows Bruce Wayne because he helped him train in his early days before he became Batman. I believe in the Nightfall series, Bruce revisits, or we get flashbacks of Bruce, you know, working with Henry Ducard and his father, you know, to be trained as such. And in the New 52, particularly in the Batman and Robin story arc before Robin's demise, we see Henry Ducard return as a character known as Nobody. But again, we get past flashbacks of Henry and Bruce both working for Henry's father, and you know, Bruce was seen more as a prominent figure in his father's eyes, to which point Henry actually kills his own father. So yeah, sorry for going off in that tangent, but yeah, Henry Ducard is in the comics, as I say, and you know, in Batman Begins, Liam Neeson is playing Henry Ducard, but is actually Ra's al Ghul. So you're getting a similar sort of situation here with Isabel Rochev, that what if Isabel is in fact Rose and Rose is just playing Isabel, you know? So as I say, there is a picture that's out there on the internet. If you look hard for it, you will see it. In fact, it's not even a secret. It hasn't been confirmed or denied by the Arrow executive producers as such. Nobody has come forward to say yes, she is going to be Rose Wilson, she is going to be Ravager. So a picture is there with Summer Glau in what appears to be full Ravager costume, head to toe, with the mask and everything, wielding dual swords and everything. So it's a possibility that, as I say, Isabel could in fact be Rose Wilson. But if that was to happen, where could it go, say, beyond season 2? Will we see Rose Wilson back in season 3? Could Rose Wilson as Ravager emerge in season 3? I don't know. We'll see. But it's tasty. It's a tasty little teaser, if in fact it is a teaser. But yeah, the fact that we know that she now works with Deathstroke implies that she could in fact be his daughter, Rose Wilson. Who knows? But other than that, as I say, now that Isabel is CEO of Queen Consolidated, she now has control of the Applied Sciences Division, which will allow Slade Wilson to use the Mirakuru on the prisoners that he freed from the prison bus that was on its way from Iron Heights, I believe. So she now has control of that, so that gives Slade the opportunity to work more with the Mirakuru and, you know, mass produce it for these prisoners, whether that's going to be through either himself or through Roy, who has left all of a sudden. There is a glimpse of him in the trailer for The Man in the Hood. I did say in my review this week that the show returns next week and then it's going to take a week break. Actually, next week is its final week break, and then after that, every other episode will be aired after that. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is my Arrow character spotlight on Isabel Rochev. I'm going to try and see if I can wrap this up by the end of the season anyway, because I will do more Arrow character spotlight before the end of season 2. I think this is the only time I'm going to do this, to be fair, and I have to admit I have enjoyed doing this, and I think a lot of people as well have enjoyed the videos as well. So it has been quite an, I mean, it's been more of an education for myself as well as for you guys anyway. So learning a bit more about these characters that have appeared on the show, and you know, you got your season regulars, and then there's the guest appearances. I know I still haven't spoken about Oliver Queen, but let's just say Oliver, his own story is being told as the show goes on anyway, so there's not really much to say about Oliver other than just watch the show and see how he develops as a character and such. But yeah, as I say, I'm going to leave it there. So I won't be back next week. It'll be the week after, when obviously Man in the Hood returns as well, and then we'll take it to the end of the season and see what happens from there. But thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.